Welcome students to Professor Jess and Professor Jayce's online English tutorial.
Today we will be talking about Unit 2, Analyzing Cause and Effect.
Thank you for learning with us. In today's lecture, we shall be discussing the following contents.
Analyzing cause and effect, developing a paragraph with supporting details and examples, and language for writing about cause and effect.
Let's proceed. At this juncture, what we're going to do now is take a moment to play this video. Watch the video carefully and please take notes. Thank you for watching that video. So now we're moving to the part where we have discussion and writing and discussing ideas for discussion and writing. For example, firstly, how might water change the Earth's geography in the next 100 years? What do you think, Professor Jess?
Well, I'm not a scientist, obviously, but what I think is that what I've heard and what I've seen on the news is that actually the glaciers are melting right now. So I believe that the water levels will rise, and it's possible that some places like islands, they might disappear, some smaller islands.
This is an interesting opinion. Do you have any evidence to back this up?
I don't actually, but I think that's the problem is that, we see a lot of movies and we watch a lot of YouTube videos, etc. But I don't know, obviously I'm not a scientist, so I haven't studied a lot of these things.
Do you have any examples that you might refer to so that I can take a look at this?
A good source would be to go down to the library and check out a book maybe, or ask a librarian, or, even just Googling, but you have to be careful when you Google because you get all kinds of articles, so you have to really check out your sources.
How about section 2, question 2? It says there, do you think that glaciers will ever return to where you live? You students should take a look at this question and think on it. What do you students think? Do you think that glaciers will ever return to where you live? Obviously, where you live is South Korea. Do you think there's any chance glaciers will return here? If so, what is your opinion on this? And what evidence do you have to support your opinion? And do you have any examples to support your opinion? Let's look at question 3. Who should protect the special natural areas of the world? Professor Jess, what do you think?
My personal opinion is I believe the government has to make regulations to protect special natural areas of the world.
Why is this?
I just don't believe that private individuals or corporations, I don't believe that they have interests in protecting special natural areas of the world.
You don't believe, so that means it's your opinion. Do you have any evidence to support this opinion?
Well, we can just see based on some examples in history. For examples like in America, the current administration in America, they're trying to deregulate a lot of the special laws. And one example might be that They're really opening up like special areas. For example, in Alaska, they want to have oil drilling, etc. So obviously, this is going to harm those natural areas.
That is a very good example and very current issue as well in America. Interesting. I will take a look at that. Students, who do you think should protect the special natural areas of the world? Take a moment to think on this. If you have a friend, discuss it with your friend. Remember, you have an opinion. Also, have some evidence to support your opinion. And if you can have examples to support that evidence, that would be wonderful as well. That will be how you flesh out your ideas for discussion and writing. We shall move to the next section now. Cause and effect paragraph.
Okay, so today one of the skills that we have to work on in this semester is cause and effect. So I've taken an example from our textbook, and if you don't have the book yet, it's okay, because we'll show you everything in this PowerPoint.
Everybody, take a look and read the section. We'll give you 2 minutes to do that. As you read, please take a moment to observe cause and effect within the narrative. We shall pause at this moment. So let's all combine and read together.
Do you drink from plastic bottles? If you do, you might want to think about changing your habit, because plastic water bottles hurt both people and the environment. First of all, plastic bottles contain 2 harmful chemicals, BPA and phthalates. Both types of chemicals can cause serious health problems in both adults and children. Second, plastic bottles hurt the environment. The bottles are made from petroleum, and transporting them requires an enormous amount of polluting fossil fuels. Also, most bottles are not recycled. They end up in our landfills, where they can take many decades to break down. Because of these harmful effects of plastic water bottles on people and the environment, I have stopped buying them. I now drink water from the tap, and guess what? It tastes good.
Students, as you have listened and read this narrative, what cause and effect did you observe? How many did you see? How many cause and effects problems were there with regards to the environment and plastic? Take a moment to list these down. We shall move on to the next topic now. What is the topic sentence? It is the same narrative paragraph that we will be using. In this, we are going to take a look at what a topic sentence is. You will need to know this for when you are writing for your final, and you need to know this for when you are presenting as well. Having a topic sentence is the starting point for your discussion when you are writing.
Okay, so our topic sentence should be our main idea, and we want all of our sentences within the paragraph to be related to that main idea.
So you have a main idea, and from that, you develop your narrative. In this passage we have, our topic sentence is,
Okay, our topic sentence is, it's basically about plastic water bottles hurt both people and the environment.
this is underlined for you to take a look at. Following that, we have,
Okay, so our next part is going to be our supporting sentences. And we'll discuss that a little bit in the next slide. Before we get into our supporting sentences, I just want to show you the difference between a fact and an example and an opinion, and a reason. So when we give our supporting evidence, we have to give evidence for our opinions. And when we give evidence, we can use a fact, an example, and a reason, especially for cause and effect. We need to have the reason. And the difference, it's a little bit tricky because you might be asking, what is the difference between a fact and an example? So a fact is a thing that is known or proved to be true. So it's something that everybody knows is true. An example is a thing characteristic of its kind or illustrating a general rule. So basically an example is something that represents something else. And a reason is the cause for an event. So let's check out some examples of these types of supports. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to find two supporting sentences and underline them. And what I want to do, I've color coded it. So let's talk about what detail is given. Is it a fact, an example, or reason? So Jayce, where are our supporting sentences?
we have those listed in red. They're underlined with the red line. If you take a look at the passage, our first supporting reasons are, first of all, plastic bottles contain 2 harmful chemicals. And second, plastic bottles hurt the environment. These are our main 2 supporting sentences.
Okay, now let's talk about the details. So after the supporting sentence, we need to give some details. What is the detail of the 2 harmful chemicals?
The details of the 2 harmful chemicals are underlined in purple: BPA and phthalates.
Okay, and I just want to ask, do you think that this is a fact, an example, or a reason? Like, what do you think that is?
They're a fact.
Right, because everybody knows that plastic has BPA. You can test for it in a laboratory, so it's proven. What about the underlined part in blue?
The underlined parts in blue are the reason. For example, BPA and phthalates are a fact, scientifically proved facts. Now the reason we explain is the explanation, and they're in blue. Both types of chemicals can cause serious health problems in both adults and children. Those are the reasons. These prove that plastic bottles contain 2 harmful chemicals.
Exactly. Okay, so our next section, we have plastic bottles hurt the environment. So what about the support?
The supporting reason is the bottles are made of petroleum. Petroleum is made from oil, and transporting them requires an enormous amount of polluting fossil fuels. That's the support.
And I think that's a fact, right? I mean,
It is a proven fact. It's been scientifically proven. It's also been financially, economically proven, and it's commonly reported in the news.
exactly. Okay. Now what about the reason?
The reason is underlined in blue. Almost most bottles are not recycled. They end up in our landfills, where they can take many decades to break down. And this has been documented by several news articles, PETA and the WWF, which is the Worldwide Foundation.
Okay, great. So, basically what we need when we're doing a cause and effect is we need a reason for our opinion. And so we do have some reasons why plastic bottles are bad.
And we also have supporting evidence to explain those reasons.
Okay, shall we move along?
Let's move along. How do plastic bottles harm the environment? What details does the paragraph include to explain each effect, fact, examples, or reasons? Take a moment, students, to read this again and see if you can identify.
Okay, so what we're going to talk about now is about the environment, okay? So we can see after the second supporting sentences, we can see that the bottles are made of petroleum and transporting them requires an enormous amount of polluting fossil fuels. Okay, so what detail do they have here? I think we talked about this in our last section. So it's basically the same thing. It has a fact, right? Fact. Okay, and that's how we explain the effect. And if we want to go further, we can talk about more detailed into the reason. They end up in landfills where they can take many decades to break down.
In later sections, we shall also teach you how to make citations, where you can use actual peer-reviewed documents to support your arguments, or news articles, or scientific research articles, and you can quote them or cite them in your articles. At this stage, we are just giving you the basic foundation, how to make cause and effect arguments.
Okay, why don't we move on to some language that we can use? So we're going to teach you some language that will be useful when you're writing a cause and effect. So because, that's a big word. A lot of I don't know about you, Jayce, but a lot of my students struggle with because. Because is a conjunction, which means it has to be followed by a subject, a verb, and sometimes an object.
In English, a conjunction is a word that joins two sentences. In Korean, the word because, hajiman, can be used to start a sentence. Generally in English, this is not the case. It is totally different. We use because as a conjunction to join two sentences, never to start a sentence.
Okay, so we have some examples. And some of you might be asking, when do we use because of, and when do we use because? So for because, we need a subject, a verb, and sometimes an object behind the because. So here's an example. The environment is changing because humans are burning fossil fuels. Now let's move on to because of. So it's a two-word preposition, meaning as a result of. It is followed by a noun, a pronoun, or a noun phrase. So the climate is changing because of human activity.
Remember these and take time to practice them and make some sentences on your own using because or because of. Remember, because is a conjunction and because of is also a conjunction, but
it has a noun at the end.
verbs of cause and effect. At the top, we have cause linking verb or phrase, and effect. Let's take a look. Deforestation, which is the mass cutting down of trees in forests, and then that is the cause. Now, if we look at it, it leads to, it causes, or it results in habitat destruction, where habitat destruction is the effect. So we can have 3 sentences from this. Deforestation leads to habitat destruction. Deforestation causes habitat destruction. Deforestation results in habitat destruction.
Okay, let's move on to effect. What kinds of words can we use for effect? So, when you write your papers about cause and effect, I expect that everyone should be able to use these linking verbs and phrases. So please put these in your papers as well. Habitat destruction, habitat meaning the place where certain animals live. For example, like if I want to give an example, I could think of wolves in North America. Their habitat has been destroyed.
Alternately, the Amazon is habitat to several thousands of wildlife and creatures and plant life.
So basically those animals have nowhere to live, nothing to eat, etc. And here's some examples. Habitat destruction is caused by deforestation. Deforestation, again, like Jay said, it's cutting down of trees, like the Amazon. Its habitat destruction is due to deforestation. Habitat destruction is the result of deforestation. So those are some examples that you can use in your essays. Okay, so why don't we, let's just do a little bit of practice with this. See if you can guess, based on that last chart that we saw, what kinds of language could we use to explain the cause? So we already have leads to, so if you could use a different phrase there, that would be great. So why don't you take a couple of minutes and think about what the answer might be.
Let's move on to the final section.
Okay, for our final section, I would like you to write your own paragraph. And the topic is going to be, what effect have humans had on global warming? And in your writing, you'll give 3 supports using facts, reasons, and/or examples.
Don't forget to include your topic sentence as you start writing.
That's a good point. We always need to have a topic sentence.
Thank you for tuning in to our lecture today. We hope it helped you a lot in your understanding of Unit 2.